All right, Julian and I are back here for Nerd Rage Gaming Legacy coverage, moving into round 4. Now, we have our matches picked for this round. The players haven't started yet, but we're going to talk a little bit about, so there's an issue currently versus Paper versus Magic Online Legacy, which is going to be relevant for our backup match. And if you only consume Legacy for Magic Online, you may see some cards that you don't actually know about right now. So, Julian, what's your feeling about this? The Minsk and Boo is the card that we're going to see. But what's your feeling about, like, is this, I mean, obviously this isn't good for the community, but is this really bad or it's just kind of a little annoying?
So in the past, it wasn't really that big of an issue. I'm sorry for anybody who's been affected by it. I know some friends of mine play a little bit more niche decks who really want that special black curse that exists, but it never really affected the big picture. But now it does, because there's two cards: Maddening Hex, which we're not going to see in a backup match, but also Minsk and Boo Timeless Heroes, which both are cards, I think, from the Forgotten Realms set, I believe.
Yeah, it's the Commander Legends Baldur's Gate, I think, is at least where Minsk and Boo is from.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think we've never been in a position on Magic Online where cards of this power level were not available. We see Maddening Hex in all the big tournaments these days in Paper. I think we've seen it put to great use in the 20th God of Legacy tournament in Tokyo the other day. And Minsk and Boo is one of the best planeswalkers around right now, especially since it won't be hit by Pyroblast. And for those who don't know what it does, I think I'm quickly going to mention it. It's a 4-mana planeswalker, 2 colorless, a red and a green. When it comes to play and at the beginning of your upkeep, you can create a 1/1 hamster with trample and haste. So even if the hamster dies, next upkeep it's going to be around and it's going to have haste. +1, you get to put 3 +1/+1 counters on a creature with trample or haste. So you can get it down. Hamster comes down. Immediately the hamster is going to turn into a 4/4 trample haste. Okay, that's okay. You get it every turn if you want. But now the minus is where the big payoff comes in. And planeswalkers who come in and then have big payoff on the very next turn, that's always like a thing in Legacy that can cause problems. And now we have it at 4 mana. And the minus is -2. You can sacrifice a creature and you deal X damage to any target, where X is, I believe, the power of the creature. So next turn you sacrifice Boo, you deal 4 damage to anything. That's not that great, but if the sacrificed creature was a hamster, then you draw X cards. So all of a sudden, you get this 4-mana planeswalker. It immediately attacks her for 4, and then on the next turn, you can shoot something for 4 and draw 4 cards. Like, whoa.
That's huge.
That's absolutely, like, if you end, we talk about like how you untap with Chase, and that's a big deal. You untap with Minsk and Boo, it's like explosion. And it happens every other turn, and it's so hard to stop it because you automatically get that 4/4 hamster every turn.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and tell the players they can go ahead for the primary match. But yeah, so what you're saying is this card is relevant to the format. It doesn't exist on Magic Online. We are going to see it in our backup match today, or at least it's in the deck. We don't see if you see cast or not. But yeah, this is an issue.
We believe it's gonna come into Magic Online because technically it actually exists. You can search for it, but it has like a weird red frame around it, which means I don't work properly, I believe. So out of order, basically. So in the long run, I think it must come to Magic Online, and even more so for Maddening Hex, because that's the even bigger card. But we'll probably like see even some of those as we go along in the tournament.
And it's so cool. Yeah. It's such a cool card. We have to have it. All right. So this match, we have Ashlen Johnson versus Joseph Bernal. Bernal has had a lot of success in various formats, including Legacy on the Energy Series. He did win a Legacy event this year. He's playing Blue-Red Delver against Selesnya Defs in the hands of Ashlen Johnson. Things kick off with Dragon Rage Chandler for Joseph Bernal. And okay, no play yet for Ashlen, but we'll see what's looming.
Yeah, Green-White Depth, or like sometimes we call it Naya Depth because there's Pyroblast in the sideboard, has secretly always been one of the most successful decks in Legacy win percentage-wise. I think we didn't see it win all that many tournaments except for one of the Eternal Weekends last year, but every time we pull up the numbers, it does well. It does really, really well, and it's such an uncomfortable deck to play against because a lot of stuff is happening at instant speed, even though it's not a blue deck. And, sometimes, especially when cards like Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth are involved, you might actually lose out of positions where you thought you were safe to tap out. And all of a sudden, right, there's the crop rotation coming in, and bam, token, you die. And for those who don't know, this deck is trying to get a Dark Depth into play. and copy it with Thespian Sage, which of course will give you that 2020 flying indestructible Marit Lage token.
All right, and there is Wasteland, and it's another avenue of this deck just pressure the mana base. For people that watch Nerd Rage Gaming for a long time, Tommy Tomsovich has played this deck extensively and had a fair amount of success with it, including playing it in the championships a couple times, I believe. So we see it here in the hands of Ashlen Johnson with a big task. Joseph Bernal is an impressive opponent.
Yeah, always like a tricky situation when your opponent plays a Wasteland on the second turn but doesn't use it, which like there's often like a lot of stuff you can at least try to read into it. But for Joseph, that doesn't matter all that much here, right? You're just like trying to make a creature and beat Ashlen down, because one of those things that the depth decks have going on a lot of times is eventually their threats are just going to be too big for you to handle. Like if you get a Knight down, or even something like an Elvish Reclaimer, right? It's a 3/4, you can't bolt it, your Pyroblasts aren't going to do anything. You could try to win with basically your biggest trump, which is Murktide, but Ashlen is also, of course, playing Swords to Plowshares in her deck, so usually when I see these matches, they become pretty insane grindfests, especially post-board, but I'm not sure what we're trying. Oh, this is great, right? So Joseph tried to Wasteland the Savannah. Ashlen had the basic potential punish and crop rotation, but Joseph saw that coming and had the Force of Will for the crop rotation. Okay, cool. Yeah,
So,
my brain is fully caught up to what's happening here.
Yeah, so he, I mean, it's not ideal. He doesn't get completely blown out, but it's certainly an exchange that works against him. He uses 3 cards. Ashlen uses 2. So it's not something you want to repeat over and over again, but not horrifying inefficiency. But yeah,
that's true. You lose out on card advantage. You +1 on tempo, right? You basically you take away the land drop.
right.
On the other hand, you also took away your own land drop of Wasteland. So okay, I'm gonna agree.
All right. Sylvan Library makes onto the board for Ashlen, which sometimes against a deck like Delver isn't going to matter too much because your life total is under so much pressure. But that one Swords of Plowshares took out the Dragon Ranch Channeler, Joseph, without a follow-up threat. So this Sylvan Library is kind of free to do its thing here. And Ashlen, after the Wasteland, and kind of stunted on mana a little bit here, but probably won't have too much trouble redeveloping.
Yeah, and even if you don't see any lands, you probably still want to like take all the cards just so the next library activation is going to get you closer to some kind of land. But of course, ideally, you'd get a land down. You'd get, say, an Elvish Reclaimer down, even play around. Oh, and no land. Yeah, okay.
Wow, you're right. So, yeah, Ashlen looked like she grabbed the 2 extra cards there and still missed the land drop. So, probably at 10 life right now.
Yeah, Joseph's just sitting here and is looking for one of his like 1 mana beaters, maybe even Murktide, which Murktide would be a pretty big deal, especially since Ashlen is now down to 10. I want to get Murktide down here. Just because Ashlen is very far away from ever making the token. On the other hand, of course, you probably put Ashlen in having a ton of interaction hand, as in like potential Swords of Plowshares or even Prismatic Ending. And I would guess there's a pretty good chance that the next library activation is going to find a white source. But yeah, it's not like you could really like would not cast your creature here. that's not how it works.
Yeah, no, it'd be pretty unfortunate for Ashlen to miss on a land drop again. Seeing no land in 6 cards is pretty unlikely. I mean, no land in 3 already was not great. So Bernal trying to figure out this brainstorm here, needing to deploy a threat, and it's a Delver, which, I mean, that's something, but you're right. It's not like Murktide, which would have been ideal.
Yeah, depending on how aggressive Ashlen is actually going to be on those library activations now, I think we also saw a Bolt in Joseph's hand. It's not unheard of for him to maybe even find like a second copy. Yeah, okay, we pick up the Windswept Heath. We will be able to, there's I think at least 2 Swords of Plowshares. I see those Ice Age Swords of Plowshares in hand. Let's see if we actually want to find a basic or a Savannah. Like, I'm not sure if you're in a position to play it safe.
Sure. And well, 2 Wastelands already have been used for just Bernal, so not too much risk there. But yeah, and only 1 card taken this time. We know Ashlen has plenty of cards to deploy once she actually gets her mana going. But the priority here has to be remove the Delver, whether it's with the Savannah or Plains. She passed a okay, thinking about it.
It's kind of annoying, of course, because in the long run, if you have main deck, let me actually look that up. Do we have main deck endurances? We do, of course. Yeah, we got 3 copies of main deck endurance. Of course, those are the ones that you want to use to deal with the 1-drops out of Diver. But we don't have the luxury of time or mana, so I guess we gotta spend. Yeah, and this one is gonna connect with one of those 1-mana creatures anyway.
All right. And Prismatic Ending, that allows something like Swords of Plowshares to be saved for Murktide. And this Wasteland continues to just sit on the board for Ashlen. It's kind of Daze insurance instead of actually. Oh my gosh, is this 3 bolts? It is.
I was talking about the second bolt, but this is the third bolt. Oh
Okay.
man, that
Well,
fetch line get us.
Yeah, that's a rough one for Ashlen. Joseph Bernal does pick up the first game, not quite in the typical fashion, but Sylvan Library does 8 damage. 3 bolts come across to finish things up. So let's go ahead and take a look at the deck lists and see what players are working with. You probably guess 90% of what's going on here, but Ashlen Johnson, Selesnya Depths deck. All right, so we've seen this before. You've seen this before. What, if anything, looks like an outlier to you?
An outlier. Let me see. This looks pretty straightforward, right? Main deck, Ramunap Excavator.
We do have a Green Sun package for Knight Reclaimer. There is a Ramunap Excavator. There is a little Ollie Rowdy Sylvan Safekeeper in there, and then the 3 Endurance, like you mentioned. So yeah, this looks pretty like nothing we wouldn't expect to see. A couple Sylvan Libraries.
Yeah. I think at this point the Tower of Megastrate is also like pretty standard. It's like a really cool way to beat all the Thopter tokens that 8cast might throw at you. Otherwise, they could block you forever. It's also technically it's a way to unequip Kaldra Complete, I guess.
Yeah, that's a nice one. I remember that with Battle Skull back in the day, and then everyone stopped playing it right away because it wasn't worth it. And then, like you were saying, we do see 3 Pyroblasts in the sideboard, so there's certainly some sideboard options here for Ashlen, including the 4th Endurance.
Yeah, and I don't hate the matchup. Like as long as we can like establish a reasonable mana base, we have a lot of creatures that Deva really doesn't want to see. Like Deva doesn't want to see Reclaimer, Deva doesn't want to see Endurance, and like I was almost gonna list Knight as well, even though that's kind of hard. On the other hand, Deva doesn't really play all these like submerge style of cards. They play like more sweepers, something like Rough Tumble. But that's not something that's really gonna do all that much against this deck here. So
yeah, these creatures are fairly frustrating to deal with. They don't seem, it's like green and white creatures. They don't do anything special. They don't have, magical card abilities to draw 4 cards or fly over and one-shot you, except they actually do, because they just assemble Merit Lage, and that does come over and one-shot you. And we have things like Choke in the board to just completely cripple what the opponent is doing. So let's look at Joseph Bernal's deck. He, yesterday in Modern,
speak of the Deva.
He played 4 Snapcaster Mages, which is not something you see anymore in Modern or Legacy, I don't think. So that was unusual. Let's see what he's got here.
We got something here, man. This is a bit of a blast from the past. We got young pyromancers in the sideboard. Like, we haven't seen young pyromancers in like 2 years or something. And also, did I just mention that these decks usually don't play submergers anymore?
So you
Joseph is either from the past or from the future. He's not from the current timeline.
So it's funny you mentioned that, and in back of my mind, I was like, I feel like Joseph Bernal likes Submerge quite a bit. I bet he's got some, at least one, and there are 2 in the sideboard, and that is a great removal spell to have here. You see 3 meltdowns. I remember seeing 1 or 2 meltdowns in sideboards in the past, and now we're up to 3. So increasing the density of the really impactful cards is Joseph Bernal.
Yeah. The 3 meltdowns are something that I think we've seen quite a lot on Magic Online lately. Okay. But yeah, the submerge. I wonder what the idea behind the young pyromancers is. I guess the thing is, I was thinking about the mirror, but then again, like going wide isn't that great when everything flies. Maybe it's still good enough, but there's not really. Yeah, when you think about it, there's only 2 blasts in the sideboard, right? You don't really have all that many cards for the mirror, so maybe that's an idea. 1, 2, 3, 2 blasts, and Flusterstorm is 6 cards. Yeah, and then you take out like 4 forces, and I don't know, 2 something. Okay, I can see it. I want to see the young pyromancers next time. I'm not sure if this is going to be the matchup for them, but
I mean, that seems like something. I mean, you could grind against Death and Taxes with them, maybe, or I don't know. I mean, there's probably
more like against controller decks, because it's another creature you really have to deal with, and you don't wanna.
I mean, it's a clock against combo, sort of, but like, Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, he's got them available, but the Submerges, they seem like the best card there to bring in. We'll see. Ashlen probably has more cards to board in for this matchup than Joseph does, but she is down a game, so looking to recover here. We'll see how things play out. Let's go down to the table. Players are presenting. This is No Rage Gaming, round 4, game 2. And we'll see how things shake out. Both these players are 3-0. We have 8 rounds of Swiss today. 140 players showed up to battle.
You already mentioned, right, that Joseph plays his own take on decks. I also noticed that there's no Mishra's Bobble. In the past, we usually had at least one Mishra's Bobble, and I think recently most players agreed that 4 Mishra's Bobble is the way to go. Joseph cut those bobbles. Joseph's playing 2 copies of Brazen Borrower on the main deck, which of course it's another great card for this matchup if you want to block. Like basically it deals with Murktide twice, or at least 1.5 times by bouncing it and also like jump blocking it a turn. And I think we got a Flusterstorm in the main deck, but now we're sending it back. Well, both players are actually going down to 6.
Looking here. So we didn't even mention the fact that so we're playing blue-red here, and just like yesterday, Modern, Bernal is not playing Ledger Shredder.
Yeah. Like I think there's basically like a couple of different versions of Delver. That's like this one that we're seeing here is almost want to say like the most aggressive, even though it usually is like built in a slightly different way. Then there's a somewhat less aggressive one with the Ledger Shredder, and then there's the what Isaac Bullwinkle played to great success in Magic Online, which is basically blue-red Delverless Delver, and almost like it's a mid-range deck basically that goes just so far over the top of Delver that it's like beats it, but can still also like somewhat tempo out other decks. It's a quite interesting thing. By the way, I think that one you can find on minmaxblog.com. They have like a great primer for it released today.
All right, so we're getting set up for game 2, deciding what to put back. Can we get the life totals reset here? And we'll be underway.
Okay, so there's Flusterstorm in our opening hand on Joseph's side, and we're also keeping it in hand. So Flusterstorm basically does 2 things in the matchup. You either, randomly hit a crop rotation, which of course is like a great trade, or you just try to hit their removal spells, and then you kind of tempo them out, right, while your flyers get there, and you hit their prismatic endings or sorts of plowshares with your Flusterstorms.
So for people in chat that might be curious, that dual land play, is that original Taiga? Is that what we're seeing there?
No, that's the Plateau. Plateau is the only dual land with 2 different artworks.
2 arts, yeah, right. It's Plateau. Okay, that's why the Mox had to be played, is because there's no green mana available from the land.
Also, I think Joseph had a Submerge in play. Like a common play that people like to make is to activate Submerge in response to the Elf activation, the Reclaim activation. But as long as Ashlen doesn't have any forests, Joseph won't be able to cast it for free.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So we'll see. This is going to be interesting. We can't really save. The most common way to go about these activations, if you have like nothing that you're playing towards right now, is just to get Flagstones of Trokair, which of course will allow you to basically ramp over the course of 2 turns. Oh, and we did see the young Pyromancers coming in. I want to see them go crazy.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. This will be interesting. Okay, here is the activation.
Yeah, so unless like we already have like a Dark Depth or something in hand, I would guess it might be Flagstones, but we will see. Oh yeah, there it is, Flagstones. Yeah. You want to hear something gross?
Maybe. I don't know.
It's safe.
All right.
Opposition agent in response to Elvish Reclaimer sacrificing Flagstones.
Oh
get
no!
all
So
the
you
cards.
Both. Wow, that's pretty gnarly.
It's like these screenshots that you sometimes see on Twitter. You're like, been there, done that, been there, done that, and then you see somebody who has that happen to them. You're like, oh my god, like let's plan your funeral or something. This is the worst.
For anyone that doesn't know what opposition agent is, maybe we can pop it up on the screen. It's a flash creature where you steal your opponent's tutoring, basically. There you go. So yeah, that would come in. So you get the Flagstone land, and then you would also get the Elvish Reclaimer land.
And they lose their land drop.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
All right.
Okay.
So swords on the Pyromancer, then attack for 1. So Ashlen misses another land drop.
You know, Joseph could also be going for a plan of, you know what, I'm gonna tempo you out as hard as I can because I think your creatures and like all the stuff that you do is just too good for me. That's why I have like young pyromancers, and I'm just gonna barely try to stop your combo and will overrun you with like stuff on the ground. Which, like, that's a legit strategy. I have no idea how good it is, but it's certainly worth exploring. And he might know more about it than I do.
All right, Brazen Borrower and Flusterstorm among the cards in Bernal's hand here. So nothing to add to the board. Last game, I speculated, it turns out incorrectly, that Bernal would struggle to finish this game without a creature. He did manage to do it. This game, same scenario. And maybe Ashlen won't deal 10 or so damage to herself this time.
Oh, okay. Joseph wants to make it clear which search that is, because of course the search for Flagstones is okay. There's a restriction, whereas Reclaimer searches for anything. Okay, so now we search for the first thing, then Reclaimer goes on top of the deck, and then the second search reserve. So Reclaimer is going to be out of the game, and we probably won't top deck it. Usually, I think people somewhat overrate using Submerge in response to a shuffle effect, but I mean, if you think a random card from the top is going to be worse than drawing that specific card next turn, and the tempos like plays out in your favor, then I think it most of the time makes sense. I've sometimes like been in a position where people did that to me, and I felt like, dude, I don't even want to draw the card fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So here we have, and that's a nice one. Petty Theft on the Mox Diamond.
It is nice. Yeah. The one thing Joseph is missing is a creature, right?
Right.
Joseph technically needs to get Ashlen down to 12 before you can burn her out. Technically, like 15 would even work if you have Mystic Sanctuary.
Yeah. All right. Whoa. Here's 2 Reclaimers. So maybe one came off the top or one didn't, but either way, there was more in hand.
And I think we see 3 lands in the graveyard,
Yeah,
right?
there are. So these are 3 4s. So they're rather hard to remove. Joseph's going to need more submerges. We know there's 1 additional copy.
This is also like a very common way that elves actually wins against Java post-board. Like you literally get your 3/4s down, and like 6 damage is nothing to joke about. Like that kills you pretty quickly. And I guess Joseph would be pretty happy to have the young Pyromancer here now.
Yeah. So sitting on just a couple cards, Wasteland takes out Savannah. The depths deck operating with just 1 land here, but Bernal with no creatures, and the door's open for these 2 Reclaimers to get over. As you said, 6 damage. This is a 3-turn clock, and not easy to remove.
So chat is asking, what's the green creature? This is Elvish Reclaimer, one of the best printings in recent years. It's a 1/1 for 1, but once you have 3 lands in the graveyard, it turns into a 3/4. It can also basically tutor something from a land from your deck if you pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice that land. But right now, I think the most important part here is just to go for the beatdown. Like Joseph has not presented a creature, probably doesn't have any kind of removal, and we can kill him in something like 3 swings.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bojuka Bog gets pitched to the Mox Diamond here to put that back onto the board.
What are we seeing in Joseph's hand here? We see, I think we earlier saw a Flusterstorm.
I think it's the other Submerge.
Okay.
So Ashlen does have the Pyroblast, or a Pyroblast. If that gets fired off here, Joseph will find a use for the Submerge, which is otherwise stuck at least up till this point. And there's a question in chat about, was the first Submerge cast with no forest in play? So there was the double search that Julian was talking about. After the first search, there was a Savannah, and then the second search, and then that's when the Submerge happened, and then the second search happened. So there was a forest in play when the Submerge was cast.
So we tried to fight over the Submerge of the Pyroblast, and Joseph was able to cash in on the Flusterstorm. Yeah. The one reason I would have loved to hold on to the Pyroblast is Murktide Regent basically stops us dead in our track here, right? So I'd rather like basically put that card on top of my deck. In the end, it probably wouldn't have mattered because there was the Flusterstorm. But now we're just like in a god beatdown. But
well.
Oh, this is okay. I see. Okay, so the idea is we preemptively get rid of the graveyard of Joseph's side, right? And I just talked about how Murktide Regent would be a big problem for us. Yeah. So Ashlen is showing she's willing to give up the card, and just get rid of the graveyard so Joseph won't be able to cast the Murktide Regent at least next turn.
Right. Yeah.
I think in the long run, it's going to get there, but for now, at least there's not going to be one.
Yeah, 4 land in play means it's not too tough to rebuild towards Murktide. And Ashlen is drawing Reclaimer unless she wants to search on her upkeep here. So it's not 2, gets in for 3 more. Bernal with 1 card in hand. So no ease of token making as of yet.
Yeah, as soon as Bernal finds basically a single cantrip, the young Pyromancer is gonna go crazy. You remember those days of like Treasure Cruise when the only thing you wanted to find with your cantrip was another cantrip, so you can like put more stuff into your graveyard?
Yes, indeed. All right, so one of Joseph's cards is a Daze. I believe Joseph's at. I think he took a hit last turn.
Yeah, from 17 down to 13. That sounds about right, unless he used the fetch land as well. I think he didn't.
Yeah, I think he might be at 10.
Because he took the second swing, right?
Oh, we only took 3 the first turn. Oh, maybe this is right. Okay, I'm not sure. I guess we'll assume the life totals are correct until they get updated.
Okay.
So when this comes across,
yeah, as soon basically as like a Ponder or a Brainstorm comes from the top of the deck, Ashlen is gonna feel horribly about it because there's a good chance we're never gonna like deal damage to Joseph anymore. Oh, okay, all the way down to 4 now.
Yeah, so he was at 10 already. So yeah, now down to 4. So now if there's no cantrip here, I mean, Young Pyromancer is on jump blocking duty. There's all I think Bernal has drawn Mystic Sanctuary, which would have been much better before the Endurance took out the graveyard, and there's a jump block.
Yeah. Also, heads up play of Ashlen, in case she had a spell, she didn't cast a pre-combat, so Joseph couldn't even like cash in the days for a potential token. Yeah, we might be headed for game 3.
And that's it. Wow. Nice game. So Ashlen does even this up. I'm not sure she had 3 mana at the same turn at any point during that game, but it was enough and it worked out. So
yeah, that's the F's way to do it.
Yeah.
Just make a creature and turn it sideways a couple of times.
Yeah. And Bernal drew, I mean, he had his 2 submerges, he drew both of them, but that wasn't quite enough when I'm not sure he played a cantrip that game at all.
No, I think we saw like the 2 submerges, the Blusterstorm, and a couple of creatures.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
so those 2 young Pyromancers didn't amount to anything, which allowed those. I mean, if there'd just been a few tokens on play at jump block, that would have given time to draw into something else. And then the Pitchcast Endurance to slow things down. I mean, that may have had an impact also, at least on the Mystic Sanctuary.
Trying to see what the sideboarding is. I see that Joseph decides to sideboard a little bit differently on the draw, on the play, apparently. But we shall see. I'm not fully convinced of the young Pyromancers, but if the plan really is to tempo the opponent out, then maybe. I mean, it's a coherent plan with regards to that.
Yeah.
What do we not want? We definitely want all the flyers. We want to get there in time. We don't want the Pyroblasts.
I'm not.
You know what? Like when you look at it, like we take out the 2 Pyroblasts, we bring in the 2 submerges. What do we take out for the young Pyromancers? Like Forces, maybe?
I mean, I'm not wild about Flusterstorm, although he obviously had it in there. So
I guess like the Flusterstorm would be part of like the tempo out plan, but on the other hand, in that case, I don't know. We could also like technically keep the Forces, and then like the really deep play would be to be like, okay, you know what? I don't want Expressive Durations, which seems wrong to me. But I mean, if you want to have the most focused aggressive deck, I don't know if that's really how the matchup is supposed to work. But yeah, I'm just curious to find out. I'm pretty sure Joseph's going to show us a little bit more to reveal the secret of how he sideboarded in the 3rd game.
Yeah, and we can see he is still working on the sideboard right now. Ashlen has presented already and is waiting for Joseph to make up his mind on how he wants his deck configured for game 3.
Yeah, he's probably struggling as much as we are.
Maybe so. While we have him in here, I guess we can revisit Ashlen's sideboard just for the heck of it. So we can see here now, seeing young Pyromancer, which is an oddity. Does that change anything she's going to do? Probably not.
Like technically Blast Zone, but no. I mean, Blast Zone you're probably going to bring in anyway because it deals with all of the 1-drops that we're going to see out of Joseph. Other than that, not too much really. Like
Yeah.
we already have like a bunch of cards we want to bring in reborn.
Right.
The
Yeah,
chokes,
definitely.
the blast stones probably. There's another endurance, the pyroblasts.
Yeah, no shortage of cards to bring in for Ashlen. All right, well, we're up to 900 viewers on the day. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Hope you enjoy the coverage. Hit the follow button if you'd like to have updates about future Nerd Rage events. We're playing Legacy all day today after a day and a morning of Modern. And we also have a Modern RCQ going on site today, starting, I think, actually, maybe starting now or maybe within an hour. And if things line up perfectly, and I mean, this would take some luck, but if things line up really well, maybe we'll get a chance to watch the finals of the Modern RCQ on stream this evening, but no promises on that one. So,
Look at this. This is an opening hand. Mystic Sanctuary is our only land. I would
oh
guess
no.
we're gonna send this back.
Oh,
Oh no, we're
keep.
gonna keep it. Okay.
I mean, it works just as well after the first turn, although it would be irritating to get wastelanded off of what is more or less a basic island at this point, or worse than a basic island, really.
Wasteland here?
Do you
Probably,
have
right?
one? I think you
I mean, you
do.
gotta.
I
I mean,
mean,
if they had something they could cast Ponder with or something, they would have done that. So
mhm.
yeah. Okay, we're gonna accelerate here. Of course, Joseph now probably wants to. I would guess there's some kind of cantrip into a volcanic and then bolt the Dryad Arbor. That's the dream. Maybe we even just like draw it straight from the top. We draw a Wasteland. Ooh.
Oh, there was a volcanic in hand. Okay, so I was going to say, if it is a volcanic in hand, that must mean he's got a 2-drop he really wants to play, and he does. It's Pyromancer.
Okay, that makes sense. That
Yeah.
certainly makes sense. Like
Mhm.
Ashlen gets a little bit more breathing room on this turn by not having her mana meddled with. But next turn, Joseph's probably gonna unleash a bunch of like ways to set Ashlen back. I would guess first of all the removal spell on the Dryad, maybe even Elvish Reclaimer if it's out there and not fully grown yet.
Mhm.
Yeah, this could be one of those games where if young Pyromancer stays around, could take over the game. But seeing Ashlen fetch there, I would guess we're looking for a white source to get rid of the Pyromancer, in which case I could very much see Joseph just going, like, pulling the Force of Will, being like, you know what, this is my game plan, and next turn I'm going to set your mana back. I want to get that this way.
Okay, Prismatic Ending on Pyromancer.
Is there a Force? Yeah, there is. Okay,
is.
cool.
That does cost him a cantrip there.
Yeah, worth it.
And
those are the Arcade Post elemental illusion tokens.
Classy. And there's a Reclaimer as well.
Oh, here we go. And I think there's a submerge in hand. So we have a submerge and a bolt in hand, so we can really, really set back Ashlen's mana. Ideally, we draw a wasteland here. I get a kick out of like attacking mana bases. It's just like people know me for elves, but what I really want to do is just like wasteland every single turn.
That is not very fun. You're not a very cool guy to play against, I gotta tell you. All right, so there's a wasteland. There's your wasteland. Holy cow, this is gonna be destruction.
Okay. Now I actually feel bad.
Yeah, I would too. This is okay. So Joseph's gonna use almost all of his cards, and Ashlen's gonna have no board.
Well, except for the planes.
Yeah, except for the planes. Terrific.
the best basic net magic, right? That's how it works.
Lining up this wasteland, and I think he has the Flusterstorm again, also.
Yeah, he could even like fight over another removal spell next turn. Like this, the way this game has played out is almost as if like Joseph had drawn it up perfectly. Like I guess you could have played a Delver on turn 1 or something, but everything else worked out like a work of art almost.
Mm-hmm. All right. Joseph giving himself some time here to think about what he wants to do. Probably send in for 3 points of damage, and then could leave Ashlen with just planes. Decides not to do that, go that route. Wasteland takes out the Arbor, leaving the Submerge behind.
Okay. I mean, one thing that sometimes comes up is like you could try to not wasteland your opponent's legendary land because they might be sitting on another copy.
Mhm.
Also, you could be like, you know what? I think I have enough to tempo you out right now. The only thing I'm scared of is your flyer. Like if you somehow could recover in time. That's why I'm keeping my submerge around.
Yeah. It does one other thing is it it puts another token onto the board, which let's see,
Yeah.
doesn't actually increase the clock right now because it's 4 turns either way. But additional damage is likely to be found in some fashion or another. You know, he Flagstones the draw and play for the turn. So Bernal with no additional new things to work with, and Ashlen with looks like a swords in hand. So if she leads a turn with the swords, that will resolve. Flusterstorm's not going to stop it.
Yeah, unless Joseph has some kind of like, brainstorm into.
Yeah.
What's the other? I know we only have the submerge and the Flusterstorm. Okay, yeah. Swords would be safe, yeah, pretty
Maybe you
much.
do it on upkeep then, because I don't think you want to give Bernal a chance to draw another cantrip or draw a cantrip.
Yeah.
And make another token. So here is the untap, and yeah, no play yet.
That looks like a
And it's
cantrip.
a
Yeah,
ponder. I mean, maybe I missaw the hand. Maybe there is no Swords of Plowshares.
You know what we should have? We should have these things they have in poker tournaments, so the players like slide their cards over the table
Yeah,
and
the
it
hand reader
automatically
things.
picks them up.
Yeah. Now there is a Swords of Plowshares on the Pyromancer. Okay.
We don't need those. We have you.
Those are pretty slick. All right, so swords on Pyromancer. Flusterstorm can be paid for, unless Bernal wants to
Submerge one of his tokens.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's what was my thought.
I mean, that gives you another token.
Yeah. So I guess it replaces itself, and then you get to stop the Swords of Plowshares. Interesting decision tree here.
I mean, if you do that, you get Ashlen down to 8 this turn.
Yeah,
you're gonna have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage on the board next turn. It's not horrible. On the other hand, of course, you feel horrible if Ashlen has like a crop rotation, finds makes the token next turn. On the other hand, you're on 21, by the way, somehow. Oh yeah, the Swords of Plowshares resolved. Oh, but okay, but you're only on 21 because the Swords of Plowshares resolved. Okay, never mind then. Tricky.
Yeah. All right. So this ponder does resolve. We're not trying to figure what he needs. We know his hand. Flusterstorm Submerge. Not the best. Not the worst. Certainly been weakened by the lack of the Pyromancer now.
So I guess Ashlen is just looking to draw a big creature here, right? Like something that Joseph. Ideally, you'd have something, that can't be submerged, but that's not really something we're gonna get. Is there anything that like makes a token? Like you could find what's it called, Ramunap Excavator, and then play your Dryad Arbor from the graveyard. Or that's
okay. I mean, I'm sure she would take that for the turn. Boy, those poker cards that you can see through the table or can read, those cost like over $100 a deck. Can you imagine what a Magic deck would cost if it was all outfitted with all this?
because they have like these chips or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Magic cards are already expensive. You don't need to go messing around with that. It would be cool to have like RFID card readers, but yeah, I think that's not in the future.
Yeah.
I don't know. DreamHack, maybe DreamHack will do something crazy for their new coverage of their Pro Tour events. I don't know.
I mean, at the Pro Tour, it works pretty well with spotters, right? And
yeah,
that's probably like cheaper than having anything else.
Use additional human resources. That works too. Okay, so Thespian stage in play for Ashlen. And
that must be endurance.
Yeah.
Nuke your graveyard. Well, the thing is, like, if we submerge this, yes, we deal like 3 damage down to 7, but it's gonna come back next turn, and then we deal 2. So down to 5, and then like to 4. Like that's not gonna get there. We just have to let it resolve.
There's a bolt.
And,
so
yeah, that's okay.
Bolt and a token will trade off for it. So that's something. 2 damage comes across. But yeah, this dramatically reduces the clock.
Feeling reasonably confident in Ashlen's position, especially since we already drew out a bolt now. We're trying to read what Joseph has in hand. Like, can we almost like read the Flusterstorm? I'm not sure. Not even sure if we should like expect it, but apparently there's like no Murktide, no extra creature. What is that
Well,
card that we? Oh, that's Murktide, but we
there's
didn't play
Murktide.
it.
The problem is there's no graveyard.
Okay, yeah. You got it. Okay, true. I always like take it for granted that like these decks they cycle through a deck so quickly. But yeah, I think that the earlier Bojuka Bog, and I think later on now the Endurance made it so that we are pretty far away from where we are. Well, actually not that far away, right? With the fetch land, we have 2 in the grave. Like we're already up to 5.
It could happen.
Yeah, I guess Joseph's just gonna attack there. Like you're not gonna try to play around the second Endurance here.
No, I don't think so. Even though there are 4 in the 75, but yeah, I think you have. I mean, just not attacking here is just it's too passive. You can't do that. I don't think.
I think we can actually cast. Yeah, we can cast the Murktide to be a 4/4. We want to.
Well, that's
which of course gives us lethal next turn.
Yeah, that's a 1-turn clock. That's probably pretty desirable now for Bernal, as he's dodged some draws here from Ashlen, who. Oh, let's see if she can find something here. Some things are too late now. Pyroblast will still be good. Choke isn't going to do much at this point. Oh, wow.
Oh, sitting on extra mana.
All
the entire
mana.
hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we're talking about the fetch land here, which couldn't find another copy of Dryad Arbor because it wasn't in the graveyard. Otherwise, we would have been able to, fetch Dryad Arbor, copy it with Thespian stage, and have parity at least on the board until Murktide came down a couple of turns later. But since Dryad Arbor was already in the graveyard, that wasn't an option available to us.
Yep. All right, so Joseph Bernal advances to 4-0 halfway through his Swiss rounds. Ashlen Johnson, 3-1, still looking good. And now we'll move to the backup match where we have our not available on Magic Online deck. We have the Minsc and Boo. Okay, so we're going to watch this fairly quickly because we are approaching the end of the round and we want to have time to get it in and then get things done before the next round starts. So let's go ahead and fire it up. I don't know what our director means by very fast. I guess we're about to find out. So we have Death and Taxes versus Punishing Loam.
Let's just pretend that this is like the normal pace of play. These are like the smartest players in the entire room. They play the entire round in 2 minutes.
Punishing Loam is the deck playing the Minsc and Boo, which, as we talked about at the beginning of the round, and Julian explained, is not available on Magic Online, and that is an issue because it is a fairly powerful Planeswalker that, at least as far as Legacy is concerned, cannot be Pyroblasted.
Funny enough, the one thing that you don't want to see on the other side of the board is Karakas, right? If you make your legendary Minsc and Boo, your Boo token every turn, they have Karakas, you can basically turn off the entire Planeswalker.
I guess that is kind of a drawback. Punishing Love should have some ways to deal with
that's true.
troublesome lands, though. See crop rotation for Urza Saga right off the bat. Chain, never mind.
What are you gonna get here? Oh, okay. So usually a start like that would indicate that you're trying to make the token, the Marred Lage token, on turn 3, I believe. Otherwise, you might as well have just kept your Groove of the Bernals. So I would guess there's gonna be Dark Depth here, and then we can cast Sylvan Library. That's most likely. Oh, Loam. Okay, Loam. Yeah, that works as well. Fine.
All right. Yeah, I felt like that was fairly unappealing card disadvantage to crop rotate on turn 1. But yeah, if you're picking the land back up, then you're all good. There's a port. Tap the Dark Depths, which is basically the same as a Cradle at this point, as they both tap for a green mana.
Yeah, Kris put in a position where he could Wasteland James, but of course you don't really want to do that, especially in the face of Wild. So we just pick up easy Ancestor Recall. 3 cards back to my hand. Yeah, I could do that any day. Let's see what James is going to do here. Usually Death and Taxes is really, really good at stopping the token, right? Between Flickerwisp, Karakas, Swords to Plowshares, Solidarity. What's it called? Not Solidarity. And yeah, it's not something you really want to go for. On the other hand, punishing fire, if you can ever get the engine online, is so annoying for Death and Taxes to deal with, because all of a sudden, all their small creatures, yes, they produce card advantage, but that card advantage can be negated by basically loaming and punishing firing as much as you want. So I'm not sure how James is going to navigate this game. Right now, it kind of works like in the way that Death and Texas wants things to go, but it's also like not exciting. Like I guess the most common way would be to get like Stoneforge down and then like land your Kaldra complete so you can stop worrying about anything else and just like get that in there until Kris dies.
Right.
But
well, we'll see
not sure
what
if that's
drops
happening.
here.
Oh, Charming Prince.
Yeah, Charming Prince. This is gonna eat a Punishing Fire on the Recruiter, just trying to pick up a free card. So Kris prevents us from getting completely out of hand right off the bat, and is able to recur the Punishing Fire next turn.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember. I'm not sure if Death and Texas has a way to deal with the Punishing Fire itself, at least in the main deck. So the only other way would be to try and like attack the Growth of the Burnwillows, which of course is not gonna work if there's gonna be a Loam around. This is tricky. Like maybe you can set up some kind of game where at the end step you bring in like 2 creatures with the 2 wilds, and then you slowly overwhelm your opponent's mana because they have to like tap out at positions and waste their mana basically when they don't want to. But right now, Kris is just like developing his board, gets the Saga down. James just, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about James' position, even though like all the Death and Texas stuff is happening. But
right. This Violent 3 is a pretty nice security blanket though for this Punishing Fire, because there's no okay, let's see, we're porting Saga this time, avoiding construct tokens makes sense. Wasteland comes down. Well, that enters the port. Violent 3 and 2. That just makes a lot of things really tricky to deal with.
Okay, so we find what I would guess is going to be Kaldra complete, right?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And Stoneforge being cast, not vialed in, so that the deception can be continued. I mean, James McCoury telling Kris Ward, if you want to go after my creatures, you have to respect the fact that I can have Flicker Wisp or Charming Prince to reset them.
On the other hand, like Kris, like eventually would just like call it and be like, okay, have it. And then if you do, I spend a mana and you had card advantage. But from then on out, you're not gonna have to Flicker Wisp. So the key, I guess, is to always like use your Punishing Fire when you have the option to do it at a spot where James doesn't really want to use the while. And of course, James wants to like develop his board in a way that makes Kris waste wiles. But as long as James has like creatures on the board, you can always just like cash in. Punishing Fire is so annoying for Death and Texas if it actually ever gets to like properly work.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, if you can overcome the problem is, well, at least as I see it.
Oh god.
In the meantime, we see this Punishing Fire here, and the Flicker Wisp comes down and saves it, and so 3 power is added to the board for James, and Kris, spent some mana and didn't do anything. And if your life total falls too quickly, like eventually Punishing Fire will kill everything, but you have to be alive long enough to get to that point, and that's not always going to happen.
So yeah, I guess we just took out all the wilds with the needle. Now we can get some stuff into play, assuming the Stoneforge stays alive. Actually, what did we find on the first Stoneforge? Because this Stoneforge just tutored up Kaldra complete. We must have searched for something else on the first Stoneforge, or there's like 2 Kaldra completes, which I don't think there are. I think I might have seen like a better skull in hand.
I didn't catch it.
Lion Sash. Oh, Lion Sash is great. Lion Sash is an equipment that we can tutor that can actually target stuff in the graveyard and get rid of it. So that's the main deck way that we can actually try and beat. It's still like not gonna be easy, but yeah, now this works. Now we were able to catch Kris in a position without a way to recur Wasteland, Punishing Fire and get rid of that. And now we can all of our draft cards are actually gonna stay in play and cause like real damage.
All the engines were just shut down. The vials are gone, so the blink stuff is somewhat depleted. The Punishing Fire is gone. So yeah, so now we're playing more fair. Death and Taxes way ahead on life total, and with a lot of power on the board. This Kaldra complete.
The thing is, Kris can make the token now, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if James has a way to stop it.
I mean, we may get to the point where I mean, you talked about how James has plenty of ways to deal with it, but Kris may just be forced to go for it, and then if James doesn't have it, he just dies. There is blocker. There's a Flicker Wisp, so we might be able to get through a few turns, and then if there is, Lion Sash can gain a little bit of life, so James could survive a hit.
Yeah, but I think one of the cards we see is Solitude.
Well, that's okay. That's going into what you're saying, that Death Tax is just very good at dealing with Merit Liege.
Yeah, just like too many things going on. We could try to like make big constructs. There's gonna be like at least 2 more coming here. But oh, we're gonna take that one out? Sure.
Okay, Vial's gone.
What's going on here? Are we... Oh, okay. We put the dice there to indicate that if this thing ever dies, then we're gonna get a 1/1 creature token.
Yeah, that's a better way of doing it actually than using the
Putting the
actual
vial
card
underneath
itself.
it.
Yeah, because it's just because the card itself doesn't matter.
Card doesn't come back, right? Yeah.
Right. So yeah, actually, I haven't seen this before, but I actually like this more.
I don't hate it.
All right, constructs blocking here.
this is dude. We're just like trading resources left and right. This is like good magic, even though it's probably like kind of hard for Kris here to find a way out of this. But this is like the way Death and Taxes sometimes works. As soon as we were able to overcome the punching fire engine, we just like become this big boa constrictor, and we just like slowly make it so the opponent, like all their cards don't really matter all that much unless they're playing a combo deck. Because if they try to play a fair game against Death and Taxes is very well equipped to just like shut that down.
So Kris down to 6 life, facing down 6 damage in the air, plus 3 creatures on the ground, 4 creatures on the ground, and the Stoneforge Mystic, which can spew out a variety of germs, all which do very bad things.
Yeah, we need Wrath of God here. We don't even have the mana for it.
James shows off the cards that Kris knows about, which are the Solitude and the
pitch card for it, I guess. Oh, okay. This is pretty rough. I'm wondering what Kris is thinking. I'm trying to see what the cards we have in hand here. I think like Mox Diamond, Wasteland. Okay, so he's putting this aside because that makes the token, and then we just float the mana, find something. Like, I guess we could find like no, that wouldn't do it. Expedition map. Like we basically want an instant speed way to get Sejirri Steppe into play to counter the Solitude, but there's not really a way to do it other than like crop rotation, I guess, or like Elvish Reclaimer, but we don't have enough time for that. Yeah, I think at this point Kris is literally looking through his deck and is like, you know what? I have no outs. Let's go to the next game.
All right. Well, that took a moment to get confirmed by Kris himself, and I'm sure the whole time James is waiting. What are you getting? What are you getting? What are you getting? Kris is like, I'm dead. Okay, that's fine. Pressure released. So we're getting towards the end of the round. I think we'll skip going through Decklist and sideboards and just roll game 2 so we can get this match done so you can see the result. So let's kick that off if we have that ready to go. Okay, almost there. All right, here it is. So game number 2, James Mccoury up 1, and well, we got some action on turn 1 here for Kris Ward.
Oh yeah, not exactly like amazing cards to play on the first time, but whenever you have that Mox Diamond on the first time, I just love it.
I was thinking that like, Shadow Spear on turn 1. Well, that's not going to do a lot, but Expedition map getting cracked off here. Saga on
gonna
turn
get
2.
those.
Yeah.
What is this? 7th edition White Border Basics. I love it. Not for me, but I mean, I can respect it. If the entire deck, and I think it is. Yeah.
Oh,
that's Portal 3 Kingdoms, really?
I don't know. I don't know the artworks of all these variety of basic lands.
But if it's Portal 3 Kingdoms, that's just like a whole new level of pimp then.
And they are all right though. They are shiny. They are bright. They look like they should. It's a land in the sun. I don't know why I associate planes with being in the sunlight, but I do. And those definitely look like they're just.
You know, it's kind of funny. They actually like they always paint them this way. Have you ever seen like planes when it's like rainy or like actually there are thunderstorm planes. I think they call them like the Final Fantasy X planes. Okay, so we picked up Caldera Complete. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure like whose advantage here. Like I kind of want to be on Kris's side of the board almost.
I mean, you can certainly race Caldera Complete with constructs with Shadow Sphere.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Now here is the Cauldron.
It's like, okay, I'm probably gonna take a bunch of damage for like 2 turns, but then my constructs are just gonna carry me, and then Cauldron might even like just sit back.
Yeah, inbound for 5 here, and yeah, Kris is gonna get all this life back. I guess he can't really equip and make a new token this turn if he wants to. There isn't that much. He has to choose. I suppose you probably make the new token. Yeah.
Yeah. They complement each other like pretty well.
Mhm.
Wonder what we're gonna get here. There's even like a world where we just like find another Mox Diamond so we can get more mana, but maybe that's not really neat. Oh, that's the effigy something. I played that in a custom commander format over 10 years ago. I think you can pay 4 and tap it. Oh, dude, I know it. And exile target creature, yeah. Oh, that's a blast from the past for me. I played the card literally 13 or something years ago.
Wow.
Or 12 years. I don't know. Or
think
maybe
I've
more
ever
like
seen
9.
this card in constructed before.
Yeah, this is basically like Swords of Plowshares that you can get from Urza's Saga. Is that the closest that we have?
I guess. I mean, 4 mana per creature, that's that's a lot, but being able to repeat it, that's not obscene. This might work out really well.
It's also like pretty cool, right? We take out the Caldra Complete, like the Charm token, and James still needs a ton more mana to ever equip that thing. Like, it's not like Better Sky where it has like a reset button.
Right. No, that's going to work fine. Here's a Recruiter. Well, James is reloading pretty well here, but these constructs, if there's a chance, so now Kris's mana is still, it has multiple things that we can go to. How much mana do we have here? We're up to only 4. So Brilliant Effigy can take something out, or Shadow Spear can equip, plus whatever else Kris might have going on.
This is just like good busted creature magic.
All right, in for 10, 2 blocks. That clears out a lot of stuff. And they pass.
So what else do we have? Like, looks like James has a bunch of like Death and Texas stuff, like Mother of Runes. What else can we see there? They're shuffling so quickly in these time shifted matches. I guess one way, if you find a Flicker Wisp, you could also technically reset the thing. I don't know if Kris has like a way to regrow the effigy from the graveyard. We're probably not gonna play, I don't know, just Academy Ruins. But of course that takes another turn.
Kris takes the hit from the Germ. James Plains cycles, gets up to 3 mana here. Okay, second Mother of Runes, not worth a whole lot. Guess it's a chump blocker. Ooh.
How big are the constructs actually? So the constructs are 5/5 right now?
Yeah, they're 5s. All right, so the Cauldron is left in play for now. There's a port. We're still not equipping. This is an attack that's not lethal.
It looks like we're blocking.
Yeah, actually.
This is also Plowshares?
Yeah, well, I think so.
Sometimes the way people have like mannerisms or like the way they put a card to the table, you can tell what it is, even if you couldn't see or understand the artwork.
It's just context. We learned from context what that was. So this attack with the Endurance maybe really wasn't all that great because it just got blocked with no other runes, which protected itself. That would have been maybe somewhat valuable as a blocker. Kris is still at 10. I thought we had attacked down to 5 last turn, but I guess we actually got attacked down to 10. So a little more stable than it appeared. And there is a Solitude.
Honestly, when I look at Kris' side of the board, this very much looks like my old Commander deck. Like, look at it. Could actually be it. Okay, looks like we have to move to the booth. Can we get to know who actually won that match?
This is so. Apologies to everyone watching for this. We've just been informed that despite the speed the replay is running at, we are not going to be able to watch it to the end. So
this is like an epic game. I think 10 years from now, people are going to make movies about it.
I mean, do you think we should skip round 5 and keep watching this?
We might need to skip round 6 as well.
All right, we're gonna try and buy ourselves some time here. And all right, we'll keep this going for a minute here. So
that's great. That's great.
Solitude. Coming and taking out a construct, then we see double block here. This Shadow Spear, which got played in turn 1, still has not done anything.
Oh, actually, does Shadow Spear shut off Mother of Runes? Actually, no, it doesn't, right? It has a clause that takes away, I think, Indestructible. It doesn't take away protection, I believe. Okay. I was thinking this could be even deeper. Okay, somehow the mothers and their elemental cleared the board, but now Kris is still sitting on a potential token next turn.
What do you mean somehow? That sounds like the mothers and their elemental. I mean, of course they're crushing.
Okay.
Why would they need anything else? Yeah, Kris can't.
I haven't read that manga.
This.
Okay, at this point, like, how much we see 6 lands, by the way, on the side of James. Like, if James ever draws another land, we will get to equip Karja Complete. Also, this is an interesting Death in Texas. This Death in Texas is splashing blue.
Well, I would not only is it splashing blue, it's actually a basic island. That's
It has a tundra and a basic island.
Yeah.
I wonder what we're going to cast with those.
I suppose we can check things out in our handy dandy deck list. Oh, there's a reality chip. Okay.
Oh, okay. That's the future sight, right? Kinda. It's an equipment that you can tutor up, and then you equip it, and it's basically future sight.
Yes. And that is it as far as the main deck goes. There are Flusterstorms in the sideboard, so interesting stuff. And Meddling Mages. Wow. So there's a lot of stuff going on here in James Mccoury's sideboard.
Okay, so we had the, I think, end of turn crop rotations happening very fast. We made the token, but then James has the Solitude to get rid of the token, putting Kris back to 30. Yeah, this match is gonna maybe somebody's gonna deck out in the long run.
Nah, so yeah, good luck decking out with Yorion. Yeah, this looks like it's kind of gotten away from Kris here. With just not much going on, not a significant attack. Although with one more land, I guess like Huldra can equip to the Solitude.
Yeah. Oh, and we can just like you know do the old Yorion, get it back that way. And once again, Legacy comes down to dragons attacking. It's just like what it is. You know, there might be some kind of, I don't know, Alliance's Knight, and when it comes to play, it destroys target dragon or something. You know, we are this far from making it playable.
I mean, we have various cards that are protection from dragons. Maybe we should be playing those.
I think Baneslayer Angel is actually a thing that people have tried every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, I played Baneslayers in my sideboard for years. Tabernacle.
No, but I mean recently, actually.
I know. Yeah, I don't know about that.
But I didn't know about it back then as well. But okay, we're gonna pay the tax for all of our creatures. Looks like. Oh, okay. One mother has to die, but her dying wish is for the charm token to get protection. Sure.
Yeah, this is a pretty sizable attack, though. Looks like what, 9 damage coming across, 10 actually.
And I guess, I guess the idea is we want to get Thalia down and have the Karakas up.
Sounds good.
Okay, sweet. I can buy it.
There's not much going on in Kris's hand either.
I'm not sure there's anything Kris can really draw here, right? Unless we have like some crazy card here. Like this is another very, very good situation for Damnation. Dude, if he rips Damnation from the top and slams it, I'm gonna walk out of the room.
What? How would that even happen? What are we even talking about here?
We're playing basically an EDH deck. I love this deck. Yes. Like all the amazing one-offs.
Yeah, chat correctly pointing out that Tabernacle doesn't even work against the Germ, which is indestructible because of Cauldron. Neither would Damnation. And your dream plan, it wouldn't even work. All right.